Our Black Friday sales live right now, 25% off the entire site, all of our handmade leather goods, including all the new stuff that we released. And if you're confused maybe what to get your guy or gal, we made a little buying guide to explain all of our products and what ones you might want to get for certain hobbies and types of people. So check them out below. This is one of the most successful and loved shoes ASICS has ever made, even though it's 17 years old. And I even had a pair in high school. I literally wore them for school track, and I loved them because they were super comfortable, soft underfoot, supportive, and it just structured your foot in a way that worked for athletics. And now in 2025, people are wearing basically an ozone destroying layer of foam underneath their foot every day. And like in this Addy Zero video, and I think people are confusing squish with comfort. And that's because running shoes have evolved from this into this. So we're gonna cut these in half, run through all of our tests to really figure out why these have been so popular for the last 17 years. Does this gel in the heel actually do something, or is it all just for show? Are they worth that steep $200 price tag? And is this the era of running shoes that people should actually be wearing for casual shoes? Or is it even worse than these monstrosities? That's what we're gonna figure out. But what is the history of this shoe? Because it is a really popular shoe, and it has been since its release in 1993. Designed by Toshikazu Kayano as a premium stable running shoe for long distance runners. And Kayano himself designed every single model of this shoe up until the 14th version. And that's because it was so successful, because people loved it for its stability, reduced the impact, the philosophy rooted in ASICS motto, Anima Sana in Corpe Sano, which basically means a sound mind in a sound body, which I love. So there's a lot of concern with the 14 being designed by somebody else. After 13 years of successful designs, in 2008, the Kayano 14 debuted, and it was hugely successful, even winning some awards in the running world. And eventually, just like all the rest of the previous versions, the next year rolled over and it was discontinued. For whatever reason, this 14 really stuck with people. And over the years, even though it was discontinued, people are still trying to find these. They kept buying them on resale sites. And as the other Kayano gels slowly started morphing into these super ridiculous, super foam, lightweight shoes, people started wanting this style of ASICS back. And around 2015, as the dad shoe era really started to pop off, people were demanding that ASICS brought back at least one of the original Kayano gel versions. And after a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussion, they finally landed on the model they were gonna re-release. And in December of 2020, they re-released the gel Kayano 14. And these things flew off the shelf. A bunch of really big collaborations. The dad shoe trend was in full swing. All these Y2K styles were starting to come back, and it was the perfect version to re-release. Meanwhile, the regular yearly releases of the gel Kayanos got up to the 32 and essentially are these modern super running shoes. And so it's this interesting history of how they started off with the most basic running shoes in the early 90s, leading up to some advanced technology and materials, multiple layers, and then really maxing out at the ultimate running shoes, perfectly optimized for the running gait, the impact, and the joint pain reduction. And so that's what's interesting to me, because if you remember, I do not think these are healthy to walk in. And there's lots of people, lots of YouTubers say these are the most comfortable shoes of all time. And so what we're really gonna figure out is this the sweet spot in shoe technology that makes the perfect running shoe for everyday use? And is that why dad shoes have persisted for like 10 years now? So what is this shoe? Well, the brand is ASICS, the style is the Gel Kayano 14. They weigh 12.4 ounces. They retail for a pretty steep $200. They're made in Vietnam, and the way they position this product is the Gel Kayano 14 sneaker resurfaces with its latest 2000s aesthetic as a nod to our storied Gel Kayano series. Reinterpreting the shoe's performance capabilities with updated materials and componentry, this version became the first iteration in the sneaker's lineage to be designed by someone other than Toshikazu Kayano. Inspired by the original tooling from 2008, this shoe also features gel technology underfoot for advanced impact absorption. That's what I'm curious. Is this gel actually underneath your foot? We'll see. And if you do want a pair of these, check them out via links in my description. So now I'll start going through materials, looking at the upper first, because this to me is a very like 2000s running shoe. You've got that really open mesh, but then you've got these really shiny synthetic materials that have lots of colors and different variation. And part of this that's really cool is he designed this after the concept of a beetle shell and this exoskeleton that wraps around, structuring that open mesh. And that's all to give you the support and stability while still being breathable. So we put this on our breathability test to see how breathable it was, and it is very breathable, especially for an older style of shoe. You know, because you look at these modern shoes and you can literally see through them, they're so breathable. But a lot of times breathability and durability do not go hand in hand, and that's why I like this old school style, because it's not just all really thin, not very durable, breathable material. They combine the best of of both of these worlds. And that's part of where the aesthetic comes from too. But a lot of times it is at the expense of durability. So is there any real leather on this whatsoever? Unfortunately, no. We put the lighter on every single panel, hoping that there's some leather. But you know, it kind of makes sense. You know, this is a very futuristic-y looking shoe, like heavy patent kind of finishes on it. But is it durable? That's all I care about ultimately. Is it durable? So we did the eyelet pull test, and it took 109 pounds to pull through, so not too bad. So even though it's not leather, it still is a very good functional upper. You know, these sidewalls are not nearly as breathable, but they're still gonna be more breathable than if it was this like fake plastic all the way around. And at the same time, you have a lot more structure than these really loose knits. And that's another aspect of these modern running shoes, that they completely basically eliminated the entire lining, especially through the forefoot. Whereas these ASICS back in the day, they were fully lined because people wanted that comfort. They wanted that a little bit of extra squish on their toes where you don't get it from this. And so it's just a very traditional lining on the inside. If we pull out the insole, just an open cell ortholite foam insole, nothing special, strobel stitched on the inside, you know, very basic shoe. But I think that's part of the point. Like it is just a basic shoe through and through. And so it feels like a basic shoe underfoot. Not all this super high advanced technology that feels like you're walking in quicksand that kind of deceives your mind into thinking it's comfort. To me, this is real comfort. And you might disagree. Like I think a lot of the running community saw that video and was like, hey, you you don't even run. But what about the responsiveness of this foam? Because you have to have lost some responsiveness, right? Because these super foams are so reactive, so fast. We just compared the two rebound tests on these with the ball and bar drop tests. Here's the results. So really not as big of a difference as I thought. So surprising results, honestly. And I think part of that is this looks like it's a dual density, or at least maybe even a triple density midsole, outsole, because you can see there's definitely gel. There's a dark gray layer, a white layer, a little bit of gel up through here, and then, but I don't know if it is actually different densities, if it's just the different colors of foam, because we even see like New Balance sometimes will just color foam to make it look like it's two different layers. And that will be contrasted heavily against these styles of shoes, which is just basically one layer of foam. And then as for the outsole, once again, very different concepts from different eras. These modern running shoes that are the more super foam style, they barely even have outsoles. They're like 1 or 2 millimeters thick because they're made for running. They want to reduce the weight. They don't need the traction. Whereas this era was a lot more universal in their function. You know, you could do cross country in these. You could do regular track. You could wear them casually. People even wore them on light hikes because they're universally function in a lot of ways with the upper and the midsoles and stuff, but especially the outsole. Like that is a pretty luggy outsole, all things considered. And it even has this little shank on the outside, very similar to some of the Jordans we've seen. But instead of carbon fiber that always cracks, this doesn't crack because it's some sort of synthetic or plastic. Not bad, honestly, but we don't know how much of the real technology they pulled out of this. We don't know if it might just be one full layer. I don't know if this gel actually wraps underneath your foot. Is this just a little bit of a cash grab, cashing in on some nostalgia of this old school running shoe? Have they completely stripped all the value and quality out of this? Or is it still a running shoe it used to be? Well, let's find out. Bloodcore whips are done. I know you guys have been waiting for these whips, or you could just use them as shoelaces. It's a shoelace tannage. We could have easily launched these in just a regular leather. People have been begging us for the Bloodcore laces to match all their Bloodcore products, their drifters, their Bear Slayers, their Indy Ones and Bloodcore. But lace tannage is completely different than regular leather tannage. And so instead of trying to just capitalize and sell you guys some laces that break, we spent the time, found the suppliers, worked with Seidel to really develop this the right way to make this perfect. So if you've been waiting for your Bloodcore laces, they're now available. Check them out below. And it's limited quantities. We'll order these in batches, so get them before they're gone. And thank you guys for the support of Bloodcore. It's really cool to develop something like this and have you guys support it and be excited about it and continue to innovate, and even just come out with laces is fun. So thank you guys. Check out the Bloodcore laces below and all of our other Bloodcore products, the wallets, the belts, lots of stuff in Bloodcore. Check them out below. Okay, we got them cut in half, and if you're not subscribed, consider pushing the little subscribe button, give us a like, check out our other videos. I think this was an interesting one. There's a lot of opinions from runners that, like, the whole concept of the video was like, these are running shoes and people wear them casually. And like the runners were like, those are running shoes, you're not supposed to wear them casually. I'm like, did you watch the video? So if you haven't seen this video, give that a watch, because this is something that I'm really trying to tackle with this like little mini series we're doing, or like really investigating all these comfortable shoes to really see what's just like online hype and what's reality. Because I think most people are off about these shoes. Now, let's see what's inside. So what is on the inside? Exactly what I was hoping for. I was really worried it was just gonna be like one solid layer of really soft foam like these, but you can see it is multiple densities of foam, and there's even more layers than I thought. So removing the insole, underneath the insole you've got the strobel board, and instead of just a piece of fabric, it's got a little bit of squish to it. It's almost such a soft foam that you can even register on the durometer test, but it is still gonna give you a little bit of squish. And then these are different durometers. These are different hardnesses of foam. The gray foam is a 40 Shore, the white foam is a 30 Shore. So you got a little bit more rigidity, what you're actually standing on, and then you get a lot of squish through the midsole with this white foam. And so that's what I like about this. Instead of all just soft foam, you have that stability of a harder foam, structuring that softer foam, and then you have that harder outsole encapsulating the soft foam, unlike this style where you just have big gaps and stuff, there's no structure caused by it. So even though it's a really soft foam, it doesn't slop left and right, it doesn't overly compress because it's structured really, really well. But what about the gel? Is the gel in the heel? Barely. Can you even call that in the heel? You know, it's like, it's kind of lined up with your heel, but you're not standing on any gel. You could say that, this is the only side that has it, you could say that, you know, oh, it's for like extra rebound when you like side step, or it's extra squishy for that outside I don't know, there's probably a way you could justify it, but I would, like, if I bought these and didn't know any different, I would have expected the gel to run underneath my heel, not just on the outside. I don't know what the original ones were, but that seems like a little bit of a gimmick to me, because you're not gonna get much value out of that. If you've had a pair of these, maybe I'll try to find my old pair from high school. Maybe they've never had gel underneath the heel, but for me, it's like, if the whole 32 shoe line is all about gel, and it doesn't really do much functionally, then why are we calling them gel? And another little issue that it's maybe not that big of an issue, but there is a gap from that structured external shank there from the midsole. I don't think it's gonna have much of an impact on the shoe, but you can see when you bend it, it's bending more in that gap because it has room to bend up into it. So you do lose a little bit of the structure. And what about these on the side here? Let's just do a quick little impromptu cut with the Demco knife. You can see I got a Band-Aid on my finger. I bet you can't guess what that's from. Carving pumpkins. So is it more than just on the sidewall? Nope, look at that. So this is actually an interesting point, because you can see right here where I just carved this open. The structural part of this gray foam that's gonna give you that rigidity, it stops at this little sidewall where the gel begins. So you'd think if this is structural foam and important foam all the way to the outside, that gray foam might sneak all the way to the outside. If this gel was really structural, you'd think it would sneak all the way into the gray. And so to me, this is leaning towards more, it's just a gimmick. And I don't know how much function you're actually gonna get out of those little spots of gel, if any at all. So now that we've seen everything, is it worth the price? Because these are 200 bucks. You know, this is a 17-year-old shoe. And to me, I'm like, if it's 17 years old, you can't figure out how to make it more affordable in 2025. So that right off the bat is like, it's kind of pricey, but it is ASICS. And ASICS is a Japanese company. They do things really, really well. And I would trust a $200 shoe from ASICS over Nike, Adidas, you know, most of these brands any day. I think it is like a little bit overpriced for what you actually get. And I think that's partly because it is a 17-year-old shoe. But I'd rather have this shoe for $200 than literally any other like super foam modern running shoe that it's like, I think this is like 250 bucks. So compared to what we're comparing it to, it's not a bad deal, but it's an old school running shoe they're selling for 200 bucks. And then finally, is this the style of running shoe that people should actually be wearing for casual shoes? Or is the modern super foam with all the squish and all the foam underneath, or is that better? Well, to me, and obviously it's very subjective, I think they should be wearing this style of shoe, because these weren't made just for running. They were made to be a very versatile, well-rounded shoe. People, like I said, people wore these for all different track events. They wore them casually, they wore them for running, long distance running, short distance running. Even though they were designed for more long distance running, they were still really, really well designed for versatility. Compared to the modern running shoes that are so overly optimized specifically for running, and the associated geometry and body mechanics, that just wearing these casually can actually hurt your body, because they're not made to be walked in, they're made to be exclusively ran in. And you would assume, okay, well, the brands, they say they're running shoes, but they're sneaky about it. In the description of this, they're like, for running running or not. So they're implying that you can wear these for stuff other than running, even though you shouldn't. And that's the whole point of this video, is it illustrates it perfectly, the difference between the old school running shoes that really built that dad shoe era. There's a reason why dads were wearing New Balances and ASICS and these running shoes in the 2000s, and it's because they were made for more than just running. They were made to be a versatile, comfortable shoe for all sorts of different things. And so I think dads were actually onto something about this shoe, and I think as this dad shoe trend came back, it's persisted a lot longer than I think most people thought it would. And so dads actually kind of nailed it. And in a weird way, all the kids and people that are wearing dad shoes continue to wear dad shoes and still continue to wear dad shoes for the exact same reasons that dads wear dad shoes. And that's because your dad knew something that you didn't. And it's the fact that comfort isn't just squish. It's structure, it's support, it's squish as well, but everything else that's around that squish is really what makes something comfortable. So why have these been popular for 17 years? It's because they work. ASICS just does things differently than these other corporate brands like Nike and Adidas. They are a true Japanese brand that actually cares about quality, they actually care about lineage, and they care about the quality product they're delivering to their customers. Let me know what you guys think and what your experience has been in these two different types of shoes, the modern super shoes and these more old school shoes, and which one you find more comfortable. And let me know if you think these are worth 200 bucks. So thank you guys for all your support. See ya.